Ada and Ruth had built a peaceful empire within the grand mansion of Mr. Bami, their wealthy husband. Despite their differences, Ada's calm nature and Ruth's fiery spirit, their bond had been unbreakable. They lived in the lap of luxury, shopping designer clothes, handbags, and perfumes from the finest boutiques. Their daily routine was filled with pampering, laughter, and the delicious aroma of meals prepared together, rich jollof rice, succulent roasted chicken, and steaming bowls of fufu with vegetable soup. Mr. Bami, despite his old age, adored his two wives. He often chuckled at their banter, shaking his head as he enjoyed the royal treatment they gave him. There was no stress, no quarrels. And even though he had no children, he was content with the life he had built, until everything changed. The sun had barely set when Mr. Bami's black Mercedes-Benz pulled into the compound. Ada and Ruth stood by the entrance, their smiles wide, excited to welcome their husband back from his trip, but the moment the car door opened, their smiles stiffened. A woman stepped out, her elegance undeniable. Juliet. Her skin was smooth like fresh milk, and her features glowed under the dim porch light. Even the way she walked had a certain grace, a delicate softness that made her seem untouchable. Ada blinked. Ruth narrowed her eyes. "Honey, welcome," they said in unison, forcing their voices to remain steady. "Who is she?" Mr. Bami let out a deep sigh before grinning. "She is my new wife. I met her in Ghana during my business trip. One thing led to another, and we fell in love. You know I don't like messing around, so I had to marry her." Ada and Ruth exchanged a glance, disbelief written all over their faces. As the driver pulled Juliet's luxury suitcases from the trunk, reality hit them hard. A third wife. A stranger in their territory. That evening, Ruth stormed into Ada's bedroom. "What are we going to do about this situation?" she demanded. Ada sat on the edge of her bed, rubbing her temples. "I don't know, Ruth. I really don't. I'm just confused. Why would he do this?" Ruth paced. "Aren't we good enough? He can't impregnate us, and he refused to adopt. So why marry again?" She clenched her fist, the anger rising. "I will deal with the new wife." Ada shook her head firmly. "No, don't do that. When he married you, I accepted you with an open heart. I didn't trouble you." "Don't do that to her," Ruth scoffed. "So we just sit here and let her take over," Ada sighed. "She just arrived. Let's try and live in peace first. We'll see what happens." But Ruth wasn't convinced. And deep down, Ada knew the arrival of Juliet was only the beginning of trouble. The grand mansion, once a place of harmony and indulgence, now felt different. Juliet's arrival had disrupted the balance that Ada and Ruth had carefully maintained. The two wives had their routine, their own rhythm, shopping at exclusive boutiques, selecting the finest jewelry, preparing delicious meals together. But now, there was an intruder, and no matter how composed Ada tried to be, she felt it. The third wife's presence had shifted everything. Juliet moved gracefully through the house, as though she owned it. And worst of all, Mr. Bami was enchanted by her. He had never been a man to play favorites. But with Juliet, he beamed at her like she was the most precious thing in the world. The first few days were strange. Ada and Ruth tried to include Juliet in their activities. They invited her to shop, to help prepare the grand meals that Mr. Bami loved so much, but she seemed different. She wasn't interested in bonding with them the way they had bonded with each other. She was polite, yes. Too polite. The kind of politeness that made Ada's stomach churn. And then it happened, the first act of betrayal. One evening, as was their tradition, Ada and Ruth prepared a feast for the household. The kitchen was their sanctuary, filled with the warmth of boiling stews and the scent of freshly pounded fufu. They had never allowed anyone to interfere. This was their sacred routine. But that night, Juliet entered the kitchen. Ada wiped her hands, surprised. "Do you need something?" she asked. Juliet smiled softly. "Oh no, I just wanted to help," Ruth narrowed her eyes. We've got everything under control, Juliet let out a sweet laugh, then waved her hand dismissively. Come on, we are all wives here. Let's cook together. No need to be hostile. Reluctantly, Ada agreed, though she could sense Ruth's displeasure. It didn't feel right. But they allowed Juliet to stay. And she took the role of seasoning the food. Harmless enough. The meal was served, and the whole household gathered around. And that was the moment disaster struck. The first spoonful entered Mr. Bami's mouth, and he stopped chewing. His expression hardened. His brows furrowed. He reached for his cup of water, gulping it down desperately. Who made this food? He asked, his voice low. Ada and Ruth exchanged a nervous glance. We did. As usual. Ada said. Mr. Bami slammed his hand on the table. Nonsense. It tastes horrible. Who ruined my jollof rice? Ruth's eyes flashed dangerously. She knew, Juliet had done something. Juliet looked innocent. Touching Mr. Bami's arm gently. Oh, darling, I only helped a little. Maybe I accidentally added too much salt, really. That's strange. Ada and Ruth had been cooking together for years. Their food had never disappointed. Never. Ruth clenched her fist, rage building in her chest. She was playing a game, and Ruth refused to lose. The house was tense for weeks. Ada and Ruth became careful, ensuring Juliet did not interfere with the kitchen again. But that didn't stop her from slowly worming her way into Mr. Bami's heart. She was the first wife he greeted in the morning. The first he sat beside. The first he smiled at. And then one afternoon, the shocking news dropped like a bomb. Juliet was pregnant. Ada froze. Ruth laughed bitterly. The entire household was confused. Mr. Bami had always been clear he could not have children. It was impossible, so how was Juliet pregnant?